Why is priesthood so important? Because it takes a priest to serve on an altar. Hello. It takes a priest to serve where? In an altar. And God, the earthly bound priesthood, serves in an altar made with hands. The one they check away. But the heavenly priesthood serves in an altar made without hands. Hello. One is earthly bound. The second one is heavenly bound. What is order of Melchizedek? It is an ancient priesthood system that dated far back as God. You remember when the 12 tribes of Israel were appointed, Levi was appointed to become the priest of Israel, right? And Judah was appointed to become king, lineage of king. Then why is Jesus becoming the priest, high priest among all? Listen. Thank you, Father. Anytime there is a priest is like a mediator between man and God. But secondly, a priest is one that stands on a thin line or on a boundary between life and death. But one is the voice of man to God. The order of Melchizedek is a voice of God to what? To man. One is earthly bound, the second one is heavenly bound. Secondly, the earth bound is an imperfect priesthood because they are also in sin because they were man. They are in sin. The earth bound is in full of imperfection. But the heavenly bound is not in sin. That is what we call. When Bible says in Hebrews 6 verse 1, leave the elementary principle of Christ and come unto perfection. That perfection talks about the order of Melchizedek. That order is the order. Perfection is the order of Melchizedek. Come unto perfection. There are 6 principles of kingship, but the 7th one is the perfection of kingship and love, which is the order of Melchizedek. The Bible says, living these elementary principles. What are the elementary principles? 1, laying on of hands, the baptism, doctrine of baptism, laying on of hands, doctrine of internal judgment, and there were 6 of them. But God said, leave these 6: raising of dead, raising man back to life. You know, resurrection from the dead is part of the first principle. Faith towards God is part of the first principle. God said, leave these first principles and come to perfection. The order of Melchizedek. Come on now. The order of Melchizedek. Secondly, the earthbound priesthood did not come according to the power of endless life. They died. That's why Aaron came at a certain time. Aaron died. That's why those in Levitical priesthood order, they also died. That's why those in Zadok priesthood, they also came and died. But Jesus that came in that order, he died and he was raised back to life and is living forevermore. He died no more. In other words, if you are being activated in this order of Melchizedek according to the power of endless life, you can only die when you want to die. If you want to, if you don't want to, you'll be translated like Enoch. You will be translated like Elijah. Listen, as you partake of this communion, because this communion carries the technology of activation of the order of Melchizedek in our inner man. It's already there, but we are going to call it forth to be functional and experiential. Praise Master Jesus. What did this Melchizedek did? We look at what he did in the life of Abraham, and you will see what he has done in the life of Jesus, and that becomes our own portion, our own whatever. Read for me Genesis 14 verse 18. Read verse 18. We'll take it one after the other. Hey, someone ignore you go. Someone ignore you go. Nani ice will you go. Now Genesis 14 verse 18.
Genesis 14 verse 18.
Yes.
And Melchizedek, king of Salem,
Pay attention. Melchizedek, king of Salem,
brought forth bread and wine.
brought forth bread and wine. Did you ever one? What did Melchizedek did? Melchizedek stepped into the timeline in the future and brought the technology of communion from the day of our day and brought it back in the day of Abraham and administered it to Abraham. In other words, as you partake of this communion, you shall be activated in timeline. You got to go into the future and take the technology of the kingdom and apply it in our day. You go back to the past and take what is in the past and bring it in our day and begin to manifest it and express it upon the face of the earth. This Melchizedek carry the technology of the future. It's in our inner man. There is a dimension of God called living in the matrix of the beginning and the end. You will see the things that were, the things that are, that is to come. You sit and begin to take anything that is acute to you in this day, fully manifested, expressed in and through you. David understood this technology. Do you remember when the Bible said David was hungry? He went into the temple to eat. He couldn't find anything, but his only showed bread and wine. And remember, David was not a priest, he was a king. He stepped in because David, being in the timeline, he has seen that is the time coming upon the face of the earth that Jesus is going to make his blood and his body available in the form of communion. He saw the revelation of tomorrow and he take it and eat it and bring it to his day, and nothing happened to his life. In other words, as you begin to step into the tomorrow, the evils of this day will never touch your life. Or what that can't touch your life. Why? Because you are living in the power of the age to come in our day. If there is a COVID today, COVID can't touch your life. Why? Because the way you are living is to your tomorrow. You are living your tomorrow in your day. Therefore, anything that is happening in this day can't touch your life. Never. Never. Praise Master Jesus. The technology of the future will be activated in our spirit man. 1, 2. The being of as you partake of this communion, there's going to be an infusion of a capacity to move trans dimensions. 1, to move cross dimensions. 2, to move inter dimensions and all kinds of dimensions in the kingdom world. Praise Master Jesus. Praise Master Jesus. Most of the times, if it's begun to see in the spirit realm, it shall never go be obe. Moses was a man. He stood in the timeline. He saw his end of the day, beginning of his time, and saw when it was not on earth, when there was a curse on the life of Reuben. He was not on earth. He was not born then, but he was able to stand in the timeline and see the past and see there was a curse on the life of Reuben. He said, Reuben, you will not lie young again. Your generation will not die young again. In other words, anything you do standing in the timeline will affect generations. Praise Master Jesus. Praise Master Jesus. You can go into the tomorrow and bring the technology of the tomorrow, and that's what we are doing here. We go into the power of age to come and bring what is in it and start applying it in our day, so that the evils of this day will never touch our life. Consciously, I know and I know. It's a principle. People like Enoch has a shadow, a glimpse of this order, because Enoch standing at the 7th, Bible says Enoch was 7th from Adam. He was standing there and he was able to see the end of age, that Jesus is going to come back with thousands of the armies of heaven. How come? This Melchizedek will bring you into a timeless dimension of King of Glory. You move trans dimensions, inter dimensions. You move in the future, you come back. You move in the past, you come back. You be in a timeline. That's what we call the key of David. The key of David is sitting on the timeline. Timeline of the things to come, the things that is happening now, and the things that's happened. This is our stuff. Someone like this is our stuff. 2. Read verse 19 for me.
Verse 19.
Yes.
And he blessed him and said,
He blessed him and said, pay attention. Today, that very being is going to bless us. Thank you, Father. Only one of you can they took a mantle of kingship. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Go ahead. Today, that being is sitting in the atmosphere. As we began to minister in the spirit, he will bless us. Hey, he will bless us. Yes, Jesus has accomplished it, but his blessing is going to come in form of activation and impartation of the virtues he's carrying, so that the very thing that is already in our spirit man will become functional and experiential. Praise Master Jesus. Verse 19, go ahead.
And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abraham.
Not Abraham,
Abram.
Yes. Blessed be Abram.
Of the Most High God. Possessor of heaven.
It's okay. When Abram meet Melchizedek, that name Abram means exalted high father. When he blessed him, Abram becomes from Abram to Abraham, the father of nation. As you partake of this communion, that very being of Melchizedek is going to activate the fatherhood in our lives. I don't care whether you're a woman. I don't care whether you are a man. But I care of one thing. There is a virtue of fatherhood. Who is a father? A father is a protector, a provider. A father is all in all. There is a dimension of God in us that will become the full representative of our Father in heaven upon the face of the earth. Remember, Bible said that the heavenly priesthood is the voice of God to man. In other words, you will become a fatherhood of God physically upon the face of the earth. And fathers provide. In other words, we are being shifted from where we are to where we ought to be. If Abraham was changed from Abram to Abraham, in other words, his real destiny